Just want to start off by saying all glory, honor, and praise goes to the Most High Power, Abba Yahweh, and His Son, the Mashiach Yahushai. To all my brothers and sisters in this truth, labor, and truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the elders of Israel, teaching the law, statute, commandments, how it's written. Shalom to you brothers as well. And this boy Zachariah is coming at you a real quick one. This one is called Hidden Things in Plain Sight, Part 21. Where and who are the hidden ones? Right? Where and who are the hidden ones? Now you can see that's a Mayan pyramid I got up there. And I'm going to dive in and tie everything in with biblical and secular history, as always. All right? So let's start off with the Fair Use Act of 1976. I don't own any of these videos, and it's not for monetary purposes, for teaching and commentary purposes only. So I'm going to show you a clip in this video and watch the words as being said and where and how these things come about, the times, right? And also the people that they're speaking about. Okay, then I'm gonna elaborate on it a little bit more. This is Mexico. Goes into history. See that, brothers and sisters? The Marranos first came to Mexico in the 16th century. Remember that. Right after the persecution, just like anyone that's particular to a nation, they're going to start practicing their heritage again. So they started to do it openly. And they had an organized congregation in 1885. So while we were here picking cotton, I know we had a Rabbi Cherry in Harlem set up a temple, whatever, in I believe it's 1886. They had one in Mexico, man. So for all you black Hebrews out there that don't want Northern Kingdom, yeah, they were practicing the laws and commandments too, brothers, right? So I'm gonna dive in now with some secular history and show you how this all ties in. And I'm going to give you a little rundown on these words, because you hear these words, don't know the definition. So Marrano, right? This is the etymology of the word, right? Also Marrano, a Jew or a Moor in Spain who, to avoid persecution, publicly profess conversion to Christianity while privately continuing the practice and beliefs of their old religion, 1580. So this is rounding up time, okay? Now let's get a definition of Moor. North African, Berber. One of the race dwelling in Barbary, late 14th century. From Old French, Moor, from medieval Latin, Morus, from Latin, Murus, inhabitants of Mauritania. Roman Northwest Africa. Right? Remember, the slaves traveled west and congregated around that area from Jerusalem. I got that history already. So when you go down, it says perhaps a native name or else cognate with Morus, black. Right? But this adjective only appears in late Greek. So it's letting you know that the Jews in that time were black. Right, from northwestern Africa, where the slaves from Israel were fled to, right? Not the slaves per se, but where a lot of Israelites fled from persecution when 70 AD was torn down. So it's showing you a chronological area where these people were. Now I'm getting secular history, and I'm all connected. We're diving into this book. It's called Lost Tribes and the Promised Land: The Origins of American Racism, written by Ronald Sanders. Pretty good historian. We're going to go to chapter 8 here, Columbus' Golden World. Let's see what he wrote. This high sea was most necessary for me, Columbus wrote in his journal, right? So this is from a journal he wrote down September the 23rd, 1492. Sacred time to start. This is when Columbus made the entry just quoted, adding that nothing like this had ever been seen save the time when the Jews went out of Egypt and complained against Moses, who brought them out of captivity. Why? Because Israel had never been in captivity as a whole other than Egypt. Let's start over here. We do not know much concerning Columbus' crew of about 90 men aboard the 3 ships, but at least one of them was an Israelite. See that? Why don't they teach you this in history? Whose presence was as such was not merely accidental, because he was on a reconnaissance mission. This was Luis de Torres, a convert of possibly only that year, because he converted from his traditional history to Christianity, who had once held a position with the governor of Marcia. He was said to have known Hebrew, Aramaic, and some Arabic, and have been brought along by Columbus specifically as an interpreter. One of the purpose of the voyage, as we have seen, was to find Great Khan, and Torres was the mouthpiece to encounter, presumably on the basis of his Hebrew. Right? So now, let's get this page down here, because I just want to, it's a lot of stuff in this book. I just want to tap into a particular thing. This is actually now, when they got to this side of the world now. They got to the western side of the world, and now this guide, right, this Indian guide that we got, was greeted with a puff of smoke on the bank, and his response, a signal, 2 men waiting for him. Eventually, a canoe appeared bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians, right? Keep that in mind. To this place where Francisco and Montesinos were standing at the water edge. The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montanos could not understand, although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation. She then turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing the words, they rose, went over to Montesinos, and to his other astonishment, said, Shema Israel, Adonia Elohenos, Adonia Akkad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, which is found in Deuteronomy 6, chapter 4th verse. It's really Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Allah, Yahweh Akkad. They recited in Hebrew. That's how we greeted each other. The fundamental creed of, well, that's Israelites. I mean, it was no such thing as Judaism. The brief conversation then ensued in their common ancestral tongue, right? So they're speaking Hebrew to one another. Because we're going to know is this brother right here, just like the one we read with Columbus, these brothers were Marranos, were Jews that converted to Christianity, and they helped basically alongside Francisco, who was a Spaniard, hunt down and find the lost tribes of Israel. Just like I gave you that video in the front showing you how they came across, now you're going to see a little bit of a breakdown how they were interacting with them on this side, right? Issacharites, Reuben, Ephraim, Manasseh, they were on this side of the world predominantly. Okay, they told him that they themselves of the tribe of Reuben, and that the tribe of Joseph, which is Ephraim, lived on an island nearby, which we know as Puerto Rico. The day when they were at least to issue forth into the world was coming soon, they explained. So for sake of time, and just go over. Francisco told Montesinos all he knew about this people from his own traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them, right? Only the sorcerers of his tribe had perceived that they were a special people. Because why? They go on the left-hand side and they seeing who we are. Tell you, be careful, man. Them sorcerers, them obeah men, them, they know exactly who you are. Them pundits, they all know. And giving them that they should be left alone, because why? These sorcerers know they seeing angels behind us and saying, listen, these people are protected, but the Lord allowed these things to happen for our wickedness. The God of these children of Israel is the true God, that he said, and everything inscribed on their tablets is true. At the end of the days, there will be lords of all nations of the earth. Hear that? One nation come bringing many things to this land, and after we have all been provided for, these children of Israel will go forth from where they are now, are, and reign over the whole earth at once did. Now let's get some biblical history to show you how true that is. Start off with Ezekiel chapter 37. Say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, as follows, and will put them with him, even one stick with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. You understand? And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And one king shall be king to all of them. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. What you just heard, what you just read here, which was written way back in the 1600s, right? This was written in the 1600s. The Portuguese Marano, right? Antonio de Montezano. What you just read, they've been known as prophecy. They've been known as prophecy. Reign over the whole earth as they once did. Why? In King David times, King Solomon times, I should say, we reigned over the whole earth. King David, when you go read the book of Kings, King David set up ambassadorship. He left people everywhere he went as a representation of Israel. That's what you call ambassadors now. We was running this whole planet, brother. This planet was smooth, right? And then I'm gonna give you two what they talk about, the hidden ones, right? Because I think I left that out. Was I supposed to get that right here? Where this brother said before they converted him, or they broke the brother really. He was basically saying, listen, he having a conversation, right, with Francisco, one of the Indian guys. He declared to his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time away, which is time to come. And he was put in prison for saying all this. But here what he said, by means of a people now hidden. So let's get that. Let's go straight to it right here. Psalms 83:3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy hidden ones. Right? Let's see who's this group. Because after these people came in down the road, and Edom is the head honcho of this whole thing. And Ishmael, Arabs, and Moab, Chinese, and the Hagarenes, that's African nations, Gebal, African, and Ammon, Japanese, and Amalek, that's the people from Middle East, Philistines, Middle East as well, and Tyre. What do all these nations got in common, brothers and sisters? Rejected from ruling the earth, rejected from the promises. These two nations, they can never enter the congregation again, and they're going to be blotted out when the Lord comes back, because King Saul never fulfilled that, and they ain't got no promises either. Misery loves company. They don't even like each other, but they hate each other enough to hate us to cut us off. And that's why they're all going to serve judgment. And that's why the Lord is going to make sure he gives everybody their just reward for doing the wickedness that was done to us. Right? So now, as I just finished up here, what I want to show you too is Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. Then said him unto me, prophesy unto the winds, prophesy, the son of man, say, go to the wind, said the Lord, and come to the four winds. Now, when people see that, they basically don't get what that's talking about. I'm going to give you the example of what the Lord is talking about right here. When he said about the four winds, this is the four winds, north, east, west, south. You're going to go to the four winds, just like it says in Matthew the 24th chapter 17 verse, 14th verse. This gospel should be preached to the four corners of the earth, or the whole earth as a witness. That's the mission. The mission was always to do this. That's why it's written here in the book of Ezekiel. O breath, and breathe upon the slain, because we were slain spiritually and physically. You can read that in Revelation 11:7, that they may live. So I prophesied, and he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Slaki. That's why when you read Revelation 11 and 9, I believe, or 11:11, it says, let me get it. I don't want to butcher. When you read 11:11, and after the 3 days, Slaki, 3 days and a half, Spirit of the Lord of life from God entered into them and stood upon their feet. A great fear fell upon them which that saw them. Why great fear fell upon them which that saw them? Let me give it to you that in the book of Daniel. This is why great fear fell upon them that saw them. So let's start right here, right? You can start with the 10 kings, but the 10 kings is just, we all know the common markets. But I'm just going straight to the point. And it shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall weigh out the saints of the Most High, which should do it now, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into their hand until a time and times and divided times. See, this is when they came. When they happened, this happened in the 1600s. The 1500s rounding up time, brothers. It was trying to figure out where Issachar was, where Ephraim was, where Manasseh was. And they had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in West Africa. And then they brought all of us under captivity, and they had us for times, and the divided times. This is when our slavery started. This is when the captivity, the hard bondage of this Egypt captivity 2.0 started. This is why great fear came upon them. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. This is the great fear, because this already happened, right? How many people knew that Washington, D.C. was called Rome, right? And these people researched it, and that's why they said take times and laws, because they have changed from the original meaning in order to conceal them from public eyes over the years. This is Rome point 2 of the Egyptian understanding and philosophy. Right, I'm saying to you, brothers, I hope you got something out of this video. I try to make it short, but sometimes you just gotta flow with it and grasp some of the knowledge I can put out here. I just want to tell you that we're almost coming down to the end. And these are things to let you know that the Lord is going to make Israel and Judah one stick again. As we come close to this end times, stay diligent, stay in the spirit. And if it be the Lord's will, y'all rock this out. See y'all next time. Shalom.